Thank you so very much, Nancy. I see we have Suzanne already in the room. Suzanne is going to be our second speaker from Area 31. Suzanne, will you be so kind to confirm you can see me, hear me, and you can spot the timer on the top left-hand corner of your screen?
Affirmative to all.
Thank you so very much. Suzanne Kettley, the path to least resistance. Path to least resistance, Suzanne Kettley.
Parents, picture this. It's 2011 and my 13-year-old Francophone daughter loves everything British, including the Beatles. She's seen Paul McCartney 3 times and she's been to Liverpool. So during this British phase, she's taken note of the Queen's corgis. She thinks they're the best dogs in the entire world. Many of you may know where this is going. One day, Emily says to me, Mom, can we have a corgi? Me? No, we already have a dog, remember? Now Emily's thinking, okay, when I'm 16 and 3 years from now, Lassie will be 12. So when she passes away, it'll be good to have a corgi. Can you get me a corgi for my 16th birthday? Now I'm thinking, this conversation is not going to end. And you know what? In 3 years from now, she's not even going to remember we had this conversation. Emily, okay, in 3 years, maybe I'll consider getting you a corgi. Contest chair and fellow Toastmasters, have you ever asked yourself, why? Why did I say that? Let me tell you our tale. 3 years passed very quickly, and Emily's interest in corgis did not wane. I don't think it helped that we had a neighbor who would walk by our house every day with her pet corgi. Well, I had to make a decision at a certain point because her interest was not going away, and I didn't want to break my commitment. I decided to look up corgis, and I can tell you there's a lot of good attributes. They're great family dogs, loads of personality, and so very cute. Plus, they were bred to herd cows, so you can imagine they're so courageous. Well, we had a breeder in mind, but I was out walking my other dog at the dog park and I saw a lady with 2 corgis and they were just sitting there like this, not moving. All the other dogs were playing. And she said that was fairly typical, that her corgis didn't like to play with other dogs. I went back to our breeder and I said, I want the most active puppy of the litter. Well, I won't say that was the best decision I've ever made in my life. We brought home Vader a few months later. Vader didn't listen to a thing. He chewed everything. He barked whenever we talked, and he chased everything, cars, kids, bikes, you name it. But worse than that, he became aggressive against other dogs. And that was when I had to do what any good fur baby parent would do. I took him to a psychologist. I completely imagined that she would tell me that he was a dominant dog, but no, he was a really intelligent dog and his curiosity was off the charts. She told me some good advice. She said, he likely won't change. You can learn to manage him, but you're going to have to love him the way he is. There was one good point that came out of that meeting. She taught him to lay in place quietly like that within 2 minutes. She filmed him. She was so impressed. In exchange for that, he got a biscuit. This was really good news because it meant that I could train him using treats. Unfortunately, it also meant that he could train me and negotiate with me for biscuits. And no word of a lie, after breakfast in the mornings, he used to scour the house and he'd look for anything that wasn't tied down that would be of value to me, and he would bring it to me in exchange for a biscuit. Well, I had to Vader-proof the house. But one morning, I'm sitting there having my coffee, and out of the corner of my eye, I can see a chair against the wall. And there's Vader on the chair, and he's reaching as much as he can so that he can reach a wall hanging. I grabbed him before he could pull it down. He thought he could exchange it for a biscuit. It's been a long 9 years. Sure, we found a little bit of a rhythm. I don't take him to dog parks at all. 100% of the time when we're out, he's on a leash and he's learned quiet time. Plus, he knows when he gets biscuits. But it's a lot of work. I would describe it as raising a perpetual toddler. And there are many times I think, how many more years will I have to expend this energy for him? But one day, I got a text from my daughter, Emily. It said, Mom, Vader's got a twitch. I didn't think too much of it. I thought maybe he was itchy. A couple hours later, I went home and I looked at him and his twitch was rhythmic, like this. It hadn't stopped. Didn't seem to bother him though. He had a big ball in his mouth. He wanted me to play fetch. And I looked down at his little face because I know that corgis can suffer from degenerative spine issues. And I'm thinking, this is probably what it is. And I look at his beautiful little face and I think, I am not ready to live without this dog. And I'm ready to open up my wallet to the vet to please fix him. We were lucky. It only took a couple courses of anti-inflammatories and he's been fine ever since. Now, I am not sharing this story with you because I wanted to tell you about how hard it is to raise an active dog. I wanted to tell you this story because of how often in my life I've chosen that path of least resistance. And what I can tell you is that there are two things from Vader I've learned. Number one is that the path of least resistance, it doesn't exist. It does not save you time. Number two, that life will present you with challenges. And you know what? That is when you grow. In my case, I've learned to communicate with another species. How cool is that? And I bet in 10 years, if you asked me which of my dogs was my favorite, I would say Vader. And not despite the challenges he's presented, but because of them. And so I want to challenge you as well. Next time you've taken the path of least resistance and it hasn't worked out, think of Vader and think of your areas where you can grow as well. Back to you, contest chair.